You've got to realize that as a young man, you grow through discomfort. This is something that's never really been taught to you before because every technological advancement has pushed more comfort into our lives. You've probably seen a lot of the same Jeffrey propaganda, like weak modern man propaganda that I have. That young people are under too much pressure. There's not enough pressure. Men are built through pressure, stress, and challenge. And so what you see around you is this social conditioning for you to be weak because they want you to have less pressure, less stress, and less challenges. You're coddled till age 18 in the education system, and then usually pushed into university, coddled again for another 4 years. You aren't given the space or even the mindset to grow. And so now when you look around and you are part of this, have some humility, you are part of the group that I'm about to say. When you look around, there's an entire generation of boys, of guys. Every male age 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 is a guy, not a man. It's interesting that manhood now seems to begin, maybe if you're one of the early developers at age 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Maybe later. I see a lot of guys, older guys, age 30, age 35, age 40, and they're not even men yet. So many guys have potential, have so much potential. We live in the greatest potential generation ever. That's why I'm so hard on you when you come and you watch me speak. I might be one of the only people who actually is so fucking hard on you and tells you to always expect the best from yourself. All I see is this modern propaganda telling you to be weak. And this, we're not part of that normal person culture anymore, right? So there's the ultra Jeffreys and we're not part of them. We don't watch like fucking Netflix or anything. We're past that level now. But still in the level that we're surrounded by are people, like I see content creators and everything, who are still too fucking weak and still pushing the same level of propaganda, which is like, oh yeah, you exercise and you are on self-improvement, but it's okay to just, still be addicted to video games and social media. You still see this in the space that we are in. You must understand this, that 1 hour of video games a day is unacceptable. Scrolling for any amount of time on social media is unacceptable. Watching any bullshit that isn't like a 10 out of 10 enjoyment for you is unacceptable. It's okay if you want to stay at the low level, but you don't watch videos like this. You don't watch my videos if you wanted to stay at those low levels. So understand that when you hear people who are seemingly on self-improvement tell you that it's okay to just waste time, understand that there is levels between you and them. I think it's a disgrace to have untapped potential. Because not only for yourself, how you feel and think about yourself is so incredibly important. And none of these motherfuckers who are telling you online to it's okay to be weak, keep playing video games, and Hamza's being too dramatic, he's being too serious, it's okay to fuck around and waste time and play video games and fucking eat junk food and take drugs. You will know. You will know that you have untapped potential. There will always be a level, some kind of feeling inside, some realization inside of you that will tell you that you are not working to the best life that you could have. And a disclaimer that I always have to give, perhaps if there's people who are watching this who haven't really watched too much of me, I'm not one of those stereotypical 16 hours a day Sigma male grinder. If you watch through my videos, I heavily promote recovery, mental health, things that you don't really hear of alpha males talking about on YouTube. But when I say work all day, when I say be productive all day, that's the ultimate goal. Be productive all day. And that does not mean, okay, wake up and just fucking keep working and your brain's you got brain fog, you're all fried. It doesn't mean that. Being productive all day includes time for a nap. It includes time to meditate, to have a walk in nature, to exercise, to lift some weights, to eat clean, to spend time with your family, because those things are all productive. To read books, to journal, those things are all productive. To go to sleep early and actually have like a good, nourishing, long sleep. Those things are all productive. Your day, your goal should be that your entire day is full of just productive activities, that there should be very little time wasted. The biggest criticism that I see to our movement, to our mindset, is that we're going like too serious, too dramatic, and that we need to cut back and have some enjoyment and some like rest time. And that really pisses me off when I hear people like, they comment this or they say it as like a criticism of me. They're like, oh, Hamza doesn't like give you enough time off or some bullshit, and like, like it's okay to rest. That is not fucking rest. Your brain is not resting when you play video games. You know this. They know this. There is only a very few amount of ways that your brain and body can rest, and the main one is sleep. And so these people who criticize you for being on self-improvement, like for, being too, like they're kind of on self-improvement, but they're on like still closer to the Jeffrey level and you're kind of more advanced past that. They'll criticize you for being more serious onto this, for being more dramatic. And they'll use these copes of like, oh, but it's okay to rest. You've got to rest. And yet here you are trying to improve your sleep and get it to like a good solid 8 to 9 hours a night. And there they are fucking playing 1 hour of video games and now it's like 1 a.m. and they're still convincing themselves that they're still on self-improvement. If the thought of having untapped potential disgusts you as much as it does for me, the ultimate goal that we want to get to is where our day-to-day life is as productive as it possibly can be. Because that is what you have control over. Now, of course, the results that you get from life can be very different. It can be based on luck and circumstances and hundreds, thousands of other variables. But potential is just based on what you have done, the actions that you have taken, the choices that you have made. The majority of men are just simply not making the right choices. And that leaves a young man so nihilistic, so depressed, so empty. You see this so much in your generation that the majority of guys just are like empty shells of people. You wouldn't consider them a man. You wouldn't look at that person and think like he playfully tussles with life. He penetrates life in such a masculine way. That he's proud of himself, that he respects himself. You wouldn't think that by looking at the majority of men. Or the majority of guys, since they haven't earned the right of manhood. So figure out for yourself right now, what is your potential? What is your potential and what have you left untapped? I guarantee the area of your life in which you feel like you are not maximizing your potential was already in your mind before I just asked you that question. You were in the shower thinking about that area of your life. So for example, if the area of your life is your diet and you realize that, okay, you're definitely not achieving as much in your diet as you possibly could do, you keep eating more junk food. You didn't even need this video to highlight that. You were in the shower thinking about your shitty diet. It's Tuesday at 3:54 p.m. You're on a walk somewhere. You're walking downstairs to get food or something. And your diet's in your mind. Because these things, when you have untapped potential, it is always going to be fucking your mind. It's always going to be so fucking clear to you that you aren't living as best as you possibly can. And this is all so far just discussing the individual effects of this. When we start taking responsibility and you start opening up to new levels and you start thinking about taking care of your family and your community and having a purpose, that's when having like untapped potential, that's when this bullshit of like, it's okay to, not be on self-improvement, it's okay to not be productive, it's okay to waste time. That's when it really gets so detrimental. You could be one of two people. You could be someone who's totally invested into what I say and know that this is the right mindset to have, that we should be hard on ourselves. We should have a level of pressure and stress on ourselves to wake up and think, you know what could I have done better yesterday? I'll try and do that today. The Stoics had a journaling practice that the author Ryan Holiday really preaches, which there's a 3-part journaling practice, which is what have I done good today, what have I done bad today, and what have I missed today that I have to make up for tomorrow. These are the most masculine men of humanity, perhaps. And they would consciously ask themselves, what have I missed that I must do tomorrow? And now in this weak modern day, even of the guys who seemingly seem like they're being productive, who seemingly seem like they're on self-improvement, they're preaching, like I just see these creators and I just get so fucking like annoyed just thinking like, how are you preaching weakness when you have a channel that's built upon the value and the virtue of strength? Because it's a cope. Remember that video I made, which is controversial as fuck? There's a video titled on my channel, Stop Letting Other Men Pipe Your Wife. And I explained this concept that being a man is kind of like being in a race amongst all the other men. And what we want, particularly in terms of like women and love and sex, is kind of like the reward of this race of manhood. Where we end up in this race, you know, if you're number 1, that's the best position. If you're number 3 billion, that's the worst position. Where we end up in this race determines the quality and quantity of women that we have, or women that we have. It's a very like dark way to think about sexual dynamics, but it does explain it very well, even though it sounds very like sexist, and you know, women might think of me as like a weird guy who's thinking of women as objects and everything, but it really does explain the male journey extremely well when you just think of life as a race. You should always ask yourself, every time you consume content, every time you have a conversation with someone, every time you're just around people in general, and ask yourself, what effect do they have on my position in this race? Are they helping me speed up? Are they that kind of like generous, kind-hearted expert who's slowing down his race to speak to you and to give you some advice so that you can run faster? Because that's hopefully the effect that you see that you're getting from me. I'm helping you cross this race faster. I'm giving you the advice, which is like, I'm pushing you to do more. This is like the biggest criticism I've ever seen of me, is that I'm helping you in this race too much, that I'm pushing you to do more. And the people who criticize us for really wanting to excel in this movement are behind us, telling us like, oh no, you should slow down. It's okay to play 1 hour of video games. Anime is not that bad. They're behind you in the race. And they're telling you to slow down because anime, oh, video games, huh? Just enjoy yourself. You need some time to like rest. They're behind you in the race and they're telling you to slow down. Do you see now why I get so pissed off when I hear like the accounts of like weaker men telling us that we're like doing too much? That it's okay to have untapped potential, that there's too much pressure on young people. In this race, there is an imaginary figure in front of you, like a ghostly figure. And that's your potential. That's how fast you could have been running. Will you chase up to that motherfucker and eventually integrate into him? So that the ghost of your potential and yourself join together? Or at least get very, very close? Or will you just allow him to just keep lapping you with so much potential, and you see this ghostly figure, your potential, end the race at such a great level, a great position, and he gets what you want out of life, and here you are just slowly fucking jogging because of all the shitty little bitch mindset, little pussy mindsets that so many people want you to take. Your family has stood there at that waiting line, at that finish line of the race. And they don't really want to show it to you because, it's too much pressure and responsibility. But they're almost like thinking to themselves, like, please run faster. In their mind, they are really, really hoping that you turn into a man and take some responsibility and look after your loved ones. If you're around my age in your 20s, this is the age that we were supposed to become the men of the house. This is the age that we were supposed to look after our family. And yet what we see around us is a generation of boys still aged 20, 22, 23, 24, 25. What's interesting is that I see comments, and I'll believe them and hope that no one's lying. But I see comments underneath my videos, and there's a surprisingly large amount of very young people watching my videos. Like, I'm talking 12 years old, 13, 14, 15 years old. And I've had video calls with a bunch of these kids. I've had video calls with them in my Discord server, and so I can kind of verify, okay, yeah, shit, there is actually like a fair amount of 14-year-olds who watch my videos. And that's amazing, good for them. But if you're watching this and you're like 20-something years old, 22 years old, and a 14-year-old is lapping you in this race, ask yourself right now, is some random 14-year-old who's being productive, who's watching my videos, who's learned all these things, and he's so totally driven, and hasn't been conditioned by any like weak bullshit narrative, and he's not playing 1 hour of fucking video games. If this 14-year-old is lapping you, you should feel a level of pressure and disgrace. You should literally feel shit about yourself if you can imagine some child is running faster than you in the race of manhood. And this is again where another little pussy mindset comes into men in my generation. Like, oh, but I'm not competing against anyone else. Go fuck yourself. I'm not competing. Shut up. Whether or not you are aware of this competition, whether or not you believe you're competing against other men, you are. It's an objective fact of reality that other men are competing against you. And if you want to have this, like, oh, I don't care, they will run past you. You better, bro, there better be 0 people who watch my videos who have got that. It's the one mindset that I've heard, like, most. I fucking hate it. How much is pushed onto my generation, especially of the guys. For girls, especially for feminine girls, fair enough, you don't thrive on discomfort. Okay. And there is levels of competitiveness even in the feminine, like, nature. But for young men, competitiveness is how we are built. And all I hear is like this pussy, like, feel good of like, oh, I'm just competing against myself. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. Your progress and who you are is not in a vacuum away from everyone else in society. You are not that fucking special. Get rid of this like main character syndrome unless you're already extremely successful and you've like built something of your life. If you're like a normal guy right now, understand you are not that special. Understand that you are not in a competition of yourself. Like, that's some hugely fucking egotistical thing to say, which the majority of like little fucking losers keep saying to themselves. Like, oh, I'm playing 1 hour of video games, but I'm moving in my own lane. Shut up. You're not in a competition amongst yourself. You're in a competition against 3.5 billion other men. And the darkest truth of this is that if they beat you in this competition, they will take what you wanted. They will take what your ghostly figure would have gotten. This, coupled with the intense amount of loneliness, laziness that young men face, explains that dynamic of 80 to 90% of men being totally deprived from intimacy, love. Like, you're watching this video right now, you are one of these guys. Extremely likelihood that the majority of men watching this, 90% of men watching this, if you look at the view count, 90% of men of that view count of this video haven't had sex in the last 6 months, haven't kissed a girl or held hands or had even a hug with a girl in the last 6 months. And there's other things that we want in life, but that is a fucking fundamental need. And it's all based on achieving your potential. There's so many excuses that people can use, that you can take on, but that does nothing to actually help you. And so again, I ask you to very clearly, as you navigate your life and as you try to like become a man, stay extremely vigilant of your own mind and of other people, the influences that they have on you and your effect on this race. Because if you have a thought that seemingly would slow you down in this race, understand that you don't have to follow or believe that thought. There's a Jeffrey part of our brain, like a propaganda conditioned part of our brain that wants us to be weak, that tells us to skip that workout, and we don't need to listen to it. There is a part of your brain that will actively try to trip you up on this race, and you don't need to listen to it. There is so many people out there that will try to trip you up or slow you down, and you don't need to listen to them. You should only listen to the part of your brain that makes you run faster in this race. You should only listen to the people that make you run faster, that help you, that give you tips to run faster in this race. You should only do the things that help you to run faster in this race. And of course, this is where, oh, well, Hamza's just overworking. It's Sigma male grind. Bro, that includes getting adequate sleep. That includes good diet. That includes time in nature and recovery and deconditioning. Bro, I only work for like 2 to 3 to 4 hours max per day. I follow the principles of what's called deep work and essentialism and the 4-hour work week. And that makes me run faster in this race in a very odd way, because this race is not just based on fucking the quantity of hours that you've worked. It's based on productive hours of the day. And working for 10 hours isn't productive. Studying, like I see these dumbass students tell me, oh, I study for 12 hours. That isn't productive. Studying for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours is productive. And then sleeping, allocating 10 hours to sleep is more productive than fucking these fucking students, man. I've never once recommended you to overwork, to overstudy. But everything you do should be in accordance of this race, of your achievements in life. The closer, like this is a side rant now, but you might be interested. The closer that you can get to masculine enlightenment, the better your life will be overall. And masculine enlightenment comes when you've aligned as much of your life as possible to your core mission and your purpose, to the big war in your life. When you reach 100% alignment to your purpose, you achieve masculine enlightenment, and perhaps 1 out of 100 million men will experience this. But the pursuit of that is what we should aim for. Do not be okay with having untapped potential. Understand that you should feel like shit. This is so interesting. This is something that the majority of people don't ever tell you, because there's such a lack of masculine, like positively masculine role models online. And the majority of people that you do see online or in person, or even guys, are way more feminine than they should be. And so they value their feelings so much more. They don't have any level of stoicism or emotional resilience. They're very like feely, emotional kind of guys. And so they base everything based on how they feel. You should feel like shit. That is such an important feeling that in the modern day is seen like a bad thing, that, you know, you want to escape all bad feelings. The bad feeling that you get when you've been eating junk food, when you've been skipping work and procrastinating. So many people try to numb themselves away from that feeling. That feeling is, if you allow to sit into it and do nothing, like you feel like shit because you've had such a shitty day of like just procrastinating on some work. It's so easy for you to just go on your phone and keep scrolling and make it worse, you know, just go to bed and try and reset for tomorrow. But the real fucking legends amongst us, the real masculine men, sit in that uncomfortable negative feeling. Just stare at your fucking wall and feel it inside of you and say, this is how I feel when I've left potential on the table. This is how I feel when I've disappointed myself with shitty actions, like I'm a man who's lesser than I truly am. Feel that negative feeling for once in your life and actually be grateful for it. Because it's that negative feeling which is your burning fuel to push you to actually go and achieve more with your life. So many people will tell you to run away from that negative feeling, to just fucking cloud yourself in video games and social media and porn and junk food and YOLO good times. The people who don't feel that negative feeling, they don't accomplish anything. I'm glad I feel like shit when I'm not productive. I'm glad I feel like shit when I cheat on my diet. I'm glad I feel like shit after I take drugs. I'm glad I feel like shit when I procrastinate. Why wouldn't you be? When you feel like shit, when you do the bad things that are literally bad for you, that's a good thing. And that's why we feel good when we do. How do I even have to explain this? Is this not fucking common sense? So many young people complain of this like pressure that they've got, and oh, it's so stressful. Good. Allow that stress to push you into the right direction instead of just numbing yourself on your fucking phone. I could talk about this for too long, man. If you haven't gotten the message by now, you need to spend some time detached away from everything, get into some nature, look out at the big horizon and ask yourself what the fuck is the point in your life. Because not achieving your potential is a very, very big sin in my opinion. And there's no way that you can feel okay with that. The only kind of way that someone can feel okay with not achieving their potential, with not being productive all day, is if they numb themselves. If they just distract themselves like a fucking monkey. Choose the life that you want to live and understand you deserve the consequences of your actions. I say that a lot. You deserve the consequences of your actions. And if that means a poor life, poor health, loneliness, then you deserve it. But if that phrase, you deserve the consequences of your actions, means for you prosperity, achievements, social connection, love, you deserve it. Figure out where you are in this race of man and do whatever it takes to just fucking chase down that ghost, because the ghost of your potential is going to keep running and his success will compound because momentum hits with success and it starts growing exponentially and he's getting faster and faster and faster. And the best life you could ever have is one in which you are inside of that ghost, achieving your true potential for the entire part of the race. And how you would feel and think about yourself if you just imagine like your ultimate potential, that ghost symbolizes you living life 100% as good as it possibly could be, making all the right choices. Imagine actually living like that. How good you would feel, how productive you would be, how proud of you that every single person in your life would be. You would stand out as a man amongst guys. That's what I want from you. That's why I make these videos. Click on this video to learn more right now. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. Mwah.